এবারও তো হচ্ছে না।
স্ক্রিনটা রেকর্ড করতে পারি।
কিন্তু এখানে তো এটা হচ্ছে না, এখানে গো লাইভ যে যাচ্ছে না।
এটা তো অলরেডি যায়। তখন ব্যাংকেও না।
সিলেন্ট কানেকশন।
স্ট্রিমিং সফটওয়্যার তো সেটআপ করে স্ট্রিম সেটআপ করে।
তো স্যারকে বলি আমি ভিডিও করতে আমি করে দিচ্ছি। আচ্ছা,
রেকর্ডিং তো অন হচ্ছে না।
রেকর্ডিং অন হচ্ছে।
ঠিক আছে।
এ ভাই জান, কাজটা কর না। স্যার আর একটা মিনিট আমি নিচ্ছি। কিন্তু দেখাচ্ছে না।
কি দেখাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, যে আমি এখানে তো দেখাবার কথা।
কি
গেট স্টার্টেড। কি গেট স্টার্টেড?
বুঝতে পারবে।
এত জায়গা আমার গেল আর কি।
লাইভটা করতে হবে না, হয়ে গেল। ওটা পরে আপলোড করে দেবে। ঠিক আছে? পরে আপলোড করে দেবে। ওকে।
স্যার উই ক্যান স্টার্ট।
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Department of History, I welcome you all. We have Professor Deepak Kumar sir with us and Professor Hitendra Kumar Patel, our head of the department and course director. I request Professor Patel to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Subhabrata Sarkar, and I hope I'm audible to Professor Deepak Kumar. I won't take more than 2 minutes. I hope Dr. Mahmood is also there. Okay, I can see only 27 participants. I had
No,
hoped that
there are already 35.
okay, 35. That's good, but I'm not very satisfied with that. It should cross 60, 70, because this is a wonderful course conceived by our two young dynamic teachers of our department, and it's a very, very creatively done, I should say, although it's a non-credit course. And we are supposed to start a course in which students could be interested without without getting even 1 credit. And I hope that this kind of a course can be very rewarding for most students, because they will be learning so much during this course, which they will remember, and they will perhaps use it in different forms when they will seek employment and career opportunities and all kind of helps. Okay, so in my view, this could be the best possible course one can opt for at this stage. And I congratulate my two young colleagues for two things. One, planning this course, and more importantly in this context, to get Professor Deepak Kumar in the beginning, so that we can have a really good idea about how to proceed in this course, and how to make sense of it, even as a non-credit course, something which is very, very important for us. Professor Deepak Kumar, an outstanding professor and an outstanding orator. In my view, he's the most, how can I put it? I always, I find myself unable to express my admiration for the man, for his scholarship and the way he presents complicated facts before the young crowd in all three languages. And in my view, he expresses himself best in, contrary to many people believe, in Hindi. His English is very good, but even in Bengali, if he tries, he can make a very lucid presentation. And I think Professor Deepak Kumar will give you an idea of the course. And I also request Professor Sarkar, Dr. Sarkar, to take those points and note down those points so that we can plan this course in a more meaningful manner so that students can be benefited. I congratulate both the conveners and I congratulate all my students, dear students who opted for this course. It was done in a very short time, so there can be some adjustments here and there, and you will have to cooperate with the coordinator. I extend my congratulations, and I believe that we also will be benefited by listening Professor Deepak Kumar. Thank you, Professor Deepak Kumar, for agreeing to start the journey. Over to Dr. Sarkar and
Thank you,
Dr.
Professor.
Mahmood.
Thank you, Professor Patel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Professor Kumar doesn't need any introduction. He is the celebrated author of Science and the Raj, one of the classic published by Oxford University Press. He popularized the idea, the concept of HISTEM, History of Science, Technology, Environment, and Medicine. Today, Sir will enlighten us more on the theme. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm grateful to your department, Rabindra Bharati University, and especially Professor Hiten Patel, Dr. Sarkar, and my young student Bipasha
Yes.
for organizing, looking into all the
Yes, sir.
technology part of it. I've just noticed that this is supposed to be a non-credit course. It makes me even more happy. You know, the real credit is learning. It is not marks. And this learning takes place all.
Bipasha, please mute yourself. Bipasha, please mute yourself so that we can listen. We can hear the yes.
Thank you. Is it better now? Yes, should be. So I'm very happy that you have introduced those courses as a non-credit course because people keep running after credit. You know, this is, why take credit all the time? Why die for credit? It is good to be, I wouldn't say you should be discredited, but, and I'm sure I'm very happy that real credit is the process of learning. When we learn from each other, when we learn from our existence, all of us, all human beings, all around the world, wherever they are, whatever condition they are in, they are all learners. We all are learners. And we keep learning till our last breath. So it's such a beautiful process. It's not only a beautiful life, actually it is this process that makes life very beautiful and adds purpose to life. So I'm so happy that you are not running after credit. You are here before me as a matter of curiosity, as a matter of just to listen, to enjoy, and if possible, to learn. I've just used the word curiosity. Curiosity is a very interesting term, and humans are endowed with it. In the animal kingdom, probably other animals also have curiosity, I'm sure, but we have no way to know it or measure it. But for humans, the moment we developed into Homo sapien, we had curiosity. It is curiosity which makes us think. As Descartes famously said, I think, therefore I am. The whole existence, our existence, the reason of our existence is to think. That's what makes us Homo sapien. And it's out of this thinking that we are able to do so many things, achieve so many things, fabricate tools, organize ourselves, do all kinds of things. Many things very good, many things probably bad. We fight also. We oppress. We wage wars. All kinds of things happen. So curiosity is at the basis of, at the foundation of knowledge. And this knowledge, when undergoes certain refinement, when certain sections of people refine it, it becomes Gyan, becomes Vigyan, it becomes science. So scientific curiosity is there. Even imagination is there. Imagination is also a very interesting human attribute. And it's good because of this imagination process we are able to advance the frontiers of knowledge. Curiosity, imagination, perseverance, these are many, many, many virtues which help us, focus, etc. So, scientific understanding is crucial to human existence. If it is crucial to human existence, then what role does it play in human history? There are links, there must be links. Now, human history itself is a very fascinating journey. It's a civilizational journey. So, as you know, the history is one of the basic disciplines, and history comes out of another interesting attribute that humans have. That's memory. We have not only imagination, curiosity, we have what? Memory also. We have individuals' memory, we have family history, family memory, we have societal memory, societal history, and so forth. Actually, memory is probably the only wealth that nature has endowed us with. And we can only look back. We have no control over future. You can't predict future, no. Even if you are an astrologer, so what? Present is in your hand, but it can be messy. You may not be happy with the present. So you go back to seek pleasure, to seek lessons, to seek how we have come to know how we have come to this stage, and also how to plan our future. So memory is also very important. History is extremely important in that sense. Here, when we use the term HISTEM, which my young friend has introduced you to, History of Science, Technology, Environment, and Medicine, this acronym, you have an interplay of all these three: memory, curiosity, imagination, and all these taken together make you make new tools to improve your living conditions, to propel you further in the civilizational journey, right from the making of the first potter's wheel or very primitive tools, etc., to today's satellite. It's a huge, long journey, isn't it? It's a huge, long journey. Today, we all continue with this instrument called mobile phone. It's not only a mere tool. There is centuries of knowledge embedded in it. Our forefathers a millennia ago couldn't have made it, even a century ago. Knowledge kept accumulating. And then it comes to a particular stage where certain artifacts are manufactured. Tools are also knowledge. They embody knowledge. They symbolize knowledge. So you will see that there is a very intimate and at the same time intricate relationship between knowledge, science, technology, society, our whole existence. All these are so closely interlinked. You don't have to be a philosopher to see these interlinks. No. They are there before your eyes. And they have been always there. Our forefathers also saw this. Even in deep past, very deep, ancient past, you'd see in our ancient texts, these are how nature is invoked, how curiosity is there. They are asking for how did we come into existence? How did the universe come into existence? In the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda, the questions are asked. They think that, there must be some kind of great illumination, Hiranyagarbha, out of which we all came out. The Bible has its whole chapter, begins with a whole chapter called Genesis, where things are gradually made. The Creator says, let there be light, there is light. Earlier there was darkness. So, all the three things which I talked about right now, they have you can see them in all ancient literature. The interplay between curiosity, imagination, memory, all this coming together. In all ancient literature. Ancient civilizations, be it Babylonian, Egyptian, Indus, wherever. They were thinking people. We may not know much about their scientific talent, but after all, they couldn't have built a city civilization, a city like Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, without that kind of knowledge. They couldn't have, it's a urban planning. Use of bricks, laying down in a particular order, making hammams and so forth. Then their knowledge of body, the process of healing. In all our ancient religions, you have the purpose of healing. Whether to heal or how to heal. Medical knowledge is there. Earlier, it was incantation. Mantras, people didn't have many other ways. So in Atharvaveda, you have incantation, you have mantras. But gradually, things moved. In another 8 centuries or so, by the time you reach Charak, that is 2nd century BC, before Common Era, you have Charak, where he talks about Yukti Bheshaj, Yukti, logic, Akal. use of akal. So from incantation, from mantra, Daiva Bhesha, divine, it comes to yukti. It comes down to human understanding, human brain, use of human brain. So medical knowledge advances from divinity to human perception. So you'd see that science, technology has always played a great role in human civilization. That is why to understand it and to study it is very significant. It will make us better citizens. It will make us more informed person. You know, memory can be of many kinds. You have personal memory. You have all kinds of aspects that memory contains. It has political aspects. It has social, cultural, economic, all kinds of things come under it. I'm not opposed to political history, not at all. We still remain obsessed with political history. You open today's newspaper and you will see almost 80% news are of political nature. It is not that because we are political animals. No. I'm not a politician. But as a citizen, I have some interest in that. Most of you have very little to do with politics of the day, but political history is taught to you. In fact, political history is given in a large amount of dose. I remember when I began my studentship in history, there was so much of political history. Even now I see. And history is seen more in terms of peaks. So you have Chandragupta, Ashok, you have Pushyamitra Shunga, you have Gupta dynasty, Skandagupta, Samudragupta, Harshvardhan, Pal, Sen dynasties, all sorts of. Then you have the Ram Vansh, slave dynasty, Turko Afghans, Pathans, Mughals, etc. Then you come to the British period and you have Lord Clive, Dalhousie, Curzon, then National Movement, you have Dalabhai Nauroji, Gandhi, Nehru. So these are all peaks. We look at history in terms of peaks. Peaks are important. I'm not saying they are not. They're very important. But how about the history of those who helped form that peak? We are all obsessed with Kanchenjunga and Everest, but duars are equally important. They help make those peaks. And the lower part is significant. And then, of course, the plains. And further down the oceans. So, we need to be little more generous in our understanding and not to concentrate only on one aspect of our memory, one aspect of history, that is political history. I'm not opposed to political history, no. They were all significant, no doubt about it. But what does it lead to? It leads to more unhappiness, isn't it? When you read today's newspaper, do you feel happy reading? Then what is the purpose of that knowledge if it doesn't make you happy? If you read a poem, probably you feel more happy, or if you read a short story or a novel or watch a movie, you are probably more happy. Quite possible that culture makes you more happy. So why not take cultural history? And cultural studies, cultural history has lots of aspects to be taken care of. For who I am. And I'm sure that large amount of work has been done on it. I know. I have come across books on culinary, food habits, food, etc. Similarly, we are social animals. We are probably more social animal than political animal. Society, societal history, social history is significant. We all learn about social history. It's part of our curriculum. I'm very happy that we learn about our society, put a lot of emphasis on it. But then we also need to examine and look into what constitutes society and what constitutes social history. Is social history only about religious reform movement? I remember when I was studying social history, it was from Brahma Samaj to Ambedkar. Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Kartabajaj, Ramakrishna, and so forth. Should social history be limited only to that? They are very significant. There is no doubt in my mind. Can there be a social history of medicine? Recently, we had an epidemic. It created a huge social upheaval, an economic disruption of a kind that we had not seen in our lifetime. A century ago, such things were common. It used to come, such epidemics. Under British rule. We saw it recently, 2 years ago. Can there be a social history of virus? Social history of epidemics? It should form part of social history, isn't it? Think of it. Whatever I'm saying is only tentative. I'm not asking you to accept whatever I argue. But just think over. Social history of medicine can be a very significant area of study and should be part of our curriculum. I'm not saying it should be taught separately. Why not teach it, study it as part of social history itself? Similarly, social history of technology. Now, technology is not something which has divine origin. God has not made this. Though people think that Google is a new God, it may be very powerful, but Google is not divine. I'm talking to you on Google Meet. But it's only a tool devised by us for our benefit. And this has enormous social significance. It has changed our social life as nothing else had done. Even at home, you are all the time Googling. You have stopped reading books, buying books. No. Who would buy my book? Why should I write books? Because all the gyan comes from Google. Why should you come to the university or to a college or to a school? No need. Google is a university. So you can enjoy yourself at your home and say that, no, I'm educated, I know. Luckily, Rabindranath Tagore didn't have Google or mobile at that time. Otherwise, he couldn't have become a creative person. This electronic media would have ruined him. He was a very lucky person. He was born, he lived, and died at the right moment. Our forefathers contributed to the society, to the economy, to the polity in their own way. And there you will see the interconnectedness of knowledge system. Their understanding of the society was not in terms only of caste and stratification. No. It's much broader. Social history is not only about caste or reform movement or religious bhakti movement and so forth. Much more than that, actually. Think over it. What more can be brought in the ambit of social history? Cultural history, luckily, these days, lots of new work have been done. New issues have been posed. Gender issues have been brought into. New questions have been asked, there is no doubt. Our horizon is expanding day by day. Not even gradually, but at a very, very fast pace. So, we now realize that in terms of political history, in terms of social history, in terms of cultural history, new areas are being opened up. New line of thinking being explored. HISTEM gives you an opportunity to examine our past little more creatively, without abandoning anything. It's an addition. I'm not saying throw the baby. No. Don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Take history in totality and look for those dimensions which have not so far been explored, so that you learn even more. You learn better. I'm not saying that don't learn about, Mughal or Akbar or whatever it is. These days, when the chapters are being removed, shouldn't happen. But the focus can vary. In Jahangir's time, you have a great technologist, Fatullah Shirazi. You may not be happy with Jahangir, but why should you be unhappy with Fatullah Shirazi? He created probably the world's first multi-barrel gun. There were people during medieval times who contributed a great deal in India, within India. I'm not talking of Europe, medieval Europe or modern Europe or so forth. No. In India, who contributed a great deal to knowledge per se, original contribution. In Kerala, we had a school of mathematics from 14th century to 18th century, 4 centuries. Great tradition. There are numerous names. Madhavacharya, Nilakantha, and so forth. And mathematics, astronomy both went together. And some of their work comes closer to the works of Tycho Brahe and others, Kepler. They were as good as. They even explored calculus much before Newton. And Nilkantha in 15th century, he talks about again, like Charaka, Yukti. He says, Etat sarvam yukti moolam. Here everything is rooted in reason, not in faith. In Atva, agam moolam. This is not in agam, which doesn't move. All into tarka. Critical understanding. Look at 15th century. He's probably talking the same way as, European scientists of Renaissance were talking. Reason. People attribute experimental philosophy to Bacon and others. But 1,000 years before him, Sushruta, Charak, they talk about experiment. Sushruta dissects dead body. He knows about, uses surgical instruments. So, experiments have always been part of that knowledge process. Sometimes it fell into disuse, sometimes because of again, there is something called clash between tradition and new knowledge. Established knowledge and new knowledge. So established knowledge becomes what is called when people follow a particular kind of understanding for a long period of time and large number of people, then it becomes what you call Shastra Sammat Gyan. Something that is canonized, canonical knowledge. And with this canonical knowledge, orthodoxy comes. They don't change. All over the world, even European age, people accepted geocentric. This is what the Greek philosophers had taught, that Earth is the center of the universe. It took 1,500 years or so for a Padri, Copernicus, to demolish it. And he couldn't have done alone. He stood on the shoulders of many other giants and then tried to argue that no, Earth is not the center of the universe. Rather, we are planets who move around the sun, part of the solar system. To accept Copernicus, it took another 1 century. People didn't accept it. This is called paradigm shift. A very sharp break with the past. And it had enormous consequences in terms of thought process, in terms of society. You can imagine, when Earth was the center, then the people who were on the Earth, on the top of the food chain, that is the humans, we were the center of the universe. Copernicus decentered us, humans. We became just nothing, such a huge universe. And we were decentered. We fell down. We became a speck of dust, which is true. In this huge universe, who are we? So this was such a big paradigm shift. It created huge problems. In India, A century after Copernicus, we had Raja Jai Singh, who was himself a great scholar, astronomer of great understanding. He had created an astronomical observatory, Jaipur, Delhi, Jantar Mantar, you have heard of, Banaras, etc. Not only that, he brought many astronomers to Jaipur and created some kind of, without calling it, some kind of Royal School of Astronomy, a Royal Society of Astronomy. But most of the astronomers, they remained stuck with the Siddhantas, which had been laid down last 1,500 years. And Jai Singh couldn't break it. He could go beyond the Tolian system and our own Siddhantas. For that, he needed new tools. Probably some Jesuit fathers gave him a telescope, but he couldn't use that. He remained glued to our medieval method of astrolabe and making huge masonry yantras, which he called it Rama Yantra and so forth, Jantar Mantri. They gave the accurate result, but the method was very cumbersome. Only kings could have made such kind of huge astronomical observatories. Ordinary people couldn't have. We didn't have telescope. But in Europe, with the help of telescope, ordinary people could do many things, can make calculations. That was a huge change, huge difference. We missed it. For certain reasons, no, happens. In history, there are many ifs and buts. But we need not cry over those ifs and buts. We shouldn't. A good historian, a good student of history should neither do chest thumping nor wail over certain things. Neither be too happy saying कि हम तो विश्वगुरु पैदा ही हुए थे. Why? Chest thumping will not help you. Before becoming Vishwaguru, you have to become a good student. Only good student can be a good guru, isn't it? Similarly, chest beating is also no good. Keep crying, no, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. They defeated us. They were foreigners, they came 800 years ago, or they did this. What is the purpose of this? Chest beating. History is not meant for either chest thumping or chest beating, breast beating. In religion, you can do such things. Faith. My religion is the best. You claim whatever. Or you keep crying that we couldn't do this. Histim allows you to avoid these two extremes. Histim allows you to take a balanced look at what happened. Not only on ifs and buts. Had it happened, this would have happened. How it was possible? Just imagine that the famous Battle of Palasi, you all know about Palasi. Had there been great Akbar in place of Sirajud-Dowla, had there been a different result? What do you think? Akbar would have won? I doubt. The match was fixed even before the fight, isn't it? In those days, whoever was the Jagat Seth, he had fixed it. Nowadays also we have Jagat Seth, they keep fixing things. You know them. Keep some. So you don't have to wail over ifs and buts. It happened because we had lost the cutting edge in knowledge. That's why we were subjugated. Trade, we had a better balance of trade than the East India Company. Rather, we were the beneficiary. They were bringing bullion to us. We were exporting cotton and spices. We were getting gold and silver in return. Mughal India economy, I'm told, is one of the very prosperous economies. Economic historians should tell you. The trade, the world GDP, our share was much higher, much higher than it is today. So, we need to look for, the technological regions, our capabilities. We used to export woods, which is a very refined type of steel. Of course, it was produced at a very small level. We didn't know, to create a kind of a furnace which would allow us to go for mass production. But our artisans, our blacksmiths were so articulate. Whatever they produced was nearly perfect. And they were exported to Damascus, to Europe, for making blade, for making sword. Our Dhaka muslin is famous, you have heard of the textile. And that's a technology. The tools may look primitive now, but at that time, they were giving good results. And to that society, it was serving well. We need to, even when you study political history, social history, cultural history, we need to look for those new dimensions. Now, economic history, tell me, what economic history would be in the absence of a study of tools and techniques and technologies? Economic history is not about volume of trade through the Indian Ocean. Economic history is not only about malguzari, taxation, revenue survey, and so forth. Revenue survey is important, I understand. Commercialization of agriculture, revenue, malguzari, taxation, they are important. Sometimes they led to agrarian crisis, Mughal period later. It sometimes led to famine conditions. It led to pageant revolts also. You study pageant revolts, but you should also study pageant's tools. So economic history is not only about volume of trade or taxation and revenue. It's more about tools, techniques, and new technologies. If we remain glued to old tools, why? Ask the question, why? It is said that our pageants used only the small hoe, very old, centuries old plough. Why did they develop the implements of agriculture? Why didn't they improve the seed? They were using traditional seeds. When the British arrived, they asked these questions. I give you an interesting example. Roxburgh was a great botanist who was stationed in Salem district in modern Tamil Nadu. He found that the soil was very good for high quality cotton, the quality of cotton which Egypt was producing at that time. So he got some seeds from Egypt and brought some cultivators, told them, look, you have the right kind of soil, you have the water, you have everything. You use this seed. You will get 5 times more output. So the crop will be much better. Go ahead. The parents looked at the seed. They got what? For example, if it doesn't give the right result, then they would be reduced to penury. They already lived at a subsistence level. If they take a risk and if it fails, then they are finished. They would be famine-like condition. But if it gives them the yield, proper yield, big yield, and they make more money, then one of the cultivator asked Roxburgh, why should he grow more? Because if he grows more, and the whole experiment is successful, then the profit would be taken by the zamindar. It doesn't come to me. So I'm happy using my old seed. Why should I take your seed? I take the risk. Quite possible it won't give me the right yield and I will go down. But even if it gives me the right yield, it doesn't remain with me. Look at the cultivator's sense of economic understanding. Technology would be accepted only when it brings benefit to you. Even today, why should you accept? Why should our ordinary peasant or entrepreneur accept a new innovation unless that innovation ensures profit, better yield? That is why in this country you will see there is a lot of emphasis on jugaad. Jugaad is a very interesting term. I don't know how to translate it, but this is what it is. Now, what India's economic history would be without jugaad? So, you take any aspect of historical understanding, you will see that history of science, history of technology, history of environment, history of medicine plays a role. I haven't talked about history of environment because now it is currently great fashion. Everybody is talking about environment. Last 30 years, a lot of books have been written. Thanks to Professor Ramchandra Guha, Mahesh Rangal, and many others. That, its significance has come to our notice. Man-nature relationship. But this was understood earlier also. More than a century ago, G.P. Majumdar had written books on Vriksha Ayurveda, Upavana Vinoda, and so forth. They are there in the Asiatic Society lab. In the Asiatic Society, the motto itself, you look at the motto of the Asiatic Society, it says, whatever occurs in nature and whatever is performed by man, nature is taken care of. Nature and man relationship is taken care of. But you have to explore those. If you look only from the political history angle, then it will say it was colonizers. Colonialism was there, and colonialism is no philanthropy. ये अंग्रेज यहाँ कोई दान दक्षिणा करने तो नहीं आए थे ना. They came to rule. They came to make profit. They did it. We allowed them to do so. Millions of Indians and few thousand Europeans could rule over us. In history, one thing keep in mind, blame game doesn't help you. Keep blaming the Mughals, keep blaming Baba. Whoa, how does it help us? Or Karjan, or this or that. Blame game doesn't help. It's foolish. You learn a lesson, you draw a lesson, and then grow. Move ahead. HISTEM allows you to do that. Another thing, the beauty of HISTEM is that's truly secular. Look at it. Recently, when the virus attacked us, it didn't distinguish between Hindu and Muslim, Shudra, scheduled tribe, caste, Brahmin, etc. The virus affected everybody. Vaccine doesn't distinguish between fair body and black body. It would work in all bodies if it is proved to be effective. Political history causes divisions, dissensions, fights, etc. उस पे आप मरते रहो, लड़ते रहो. But history of science, no. No. History of technology, no. HSTEM is truly secular. Promote it. Talk of the body, history of the body, history of water, history of body, history of soil, history of numerous things which you see, and work on that. That will bring us together. That will make us better human beings and therefore better citizens. I'd like to explore. New books have come. It is not that HSTEM or history of science is a new discipline. I give you one example. Long ago, 45 years ago, when I used to work at National Library, Kolkata, I was a frequent visitor to Kolkata. I was reading the first volume of Calcutta Review, published in 1844. In the very first volume of Calcutta Review, there is an article which talks about history of science, which says this is the most useful branch of knowledge, history of science. Very first volume of Calcutta Review, 1844. Now it is available on net. You can just Google it. Calcutta Review, 1844. First volume. There is an article, fourth, fifth article, which talks about it. It says how significant it is. So people have been talking about it. There are many people, I'm sure in Bangla, you have articles. You have the lectures from the great Dr. Udev Chakrabarti. You have Mahendralal Sarkar talking about it. You have Acharya Prafull Chandra Ray himself writing history of Hindu chemistry. And in his autobiography, how clearly he comes out. Here is a great scientist, but at the same time a great historian and a great human being and an activist, a freedom fighter. All role, it was a true Acharya. Read him. And you know, when he calls it history of Hindu chemistry, he is not using the term Hindu as we understand it today. No. He is no K.L. Advani. No, sorry. P.C. Ray is no Savarkar. Our scientists showed the right way. We have forgotten them. We need to rediscover and learn from them. There is a large number, and especially Bengal, Kolkata is very lucky. You have those stars in dozens. Today I don't know how many are left. But my period, well, I still breathe 19th century. I'm sorry, I know very little about other parts of the country or, a huge area of modern India. No, I know very little. But in 19th century, early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century, you have dozens of stars. Where have they gone? Very bright luminaries, bright stars, much ahead of their time. Not only in terms of literature, not only Gurudev or Mahatma Gandhi, we have many more. In terms of science, technology, medical research, so forth. People ask me this question: why colonial India produced such luminaries, and in post-independent India, we are missing them? I have no easy answer. Maybe the character of science had changed. Maybe our forefathers, it was a generation which wanted to establish themselves, so they had more focus. They had the fire inside. You know, for good knowledge, for true science, good science, you need a lot of fire inside. Curiosity, this is where I began. Imagination, memory. This is where now I'd like to end. I have still some more time left. I'd like you to ask some questions so that, I also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
That you have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, HISTEM is very much interdisciplinary in nature. And this is very much part of our existence. Now, I would like to ask my students if they have any questions, queries, you can ask. Rather, I insist. Please ask.
বাংলায় বলো, আমি বাংলা বুঝতে পারছি। শুনছো যে?
Yes, language is no barrier. If you want to ask in Bengali, no problem. বাংলায় বলো।
কিছু বলো।
এই কোর্সটা পুরো ডিজাইন করা হয়েছে যেটা তোমাদের কথা ভেবে। বিপাশা মিউট করো একটু।
স্যার আমার একটা কোশ্চেন আছে।
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, প্লিজ গো অ্যাহেড।
স্যার বিজ্ঞান নিয়ে গবেষণাটা অনেক আগে শুরু হয়ে গেছিল, সায়েন্স নিয়ে। সেই জায়গায় টেকনোলজি নিয়ে গবেষণাটা শুরু হতে একটু লেট, একটু দেরি হয়েছিল। তো বিষয়টা কেন, মানে আমি এক্সপ্লোর করতে পারছি না জায়গাটা, যে টেকনোলজি নিয়ে গবেষণাটা কেন দেরি হলো, এবং মানে এখনো জায়গাগুলো এক্সপ্লোর হচ্ছে আর কি, তো কেন?
That's a very good question. You know, people actually distinguish between science and technology, which is, to my mind, not very proper. They are two sides of the same coin. As I told you, this is not a mere tool. It has a lot of knowledge inside. So it's a scientific tool. So people, when they did science, at the same time, they were developing certain kind of technologies. Look at the example of J.C. Bose. He was fabricating his own instruments. He was. So technology takes time to come. Knowledge probably comes first. It happens sometimes that technology comes first and explanation is given later, and therefore knowledge comes, or scientific knowledge comes. It works both ways. But in India, you are right that we were little behind studying history of technology. Maybe because new technologies developed fast in Europe. They had the Industrial Revolution. We missed that. We had our own tools and techniques with which our society was satisfied. We were more handicraft-oriented society. So with minimum tools, we could produce good results. Look at our textile, for example, even today. But gradually, new technologies came. There was a friction. There was loss also. Many people, starvation, there was displacement, migration, and so forth. But gradually, new technologies were accepted. Even today, you go to Vishnupur, they are not doing the famous Balucheri in the same fashion as it was being done 30 years ago. Things have changed. They're changing fast. So, history of technology comes a little later, but it's very crucial. And when it came, people accepted. Look for electricity, gas lighting, then replaced by electricity. Many things people accepted. When microscope came or vaccines came, people accepted it. Some people felt little worried, but they accepted. X-ray. All these are tools which people accepted when its utility was properly demonstrated. But sometimes, as you know, as I told you about canonical knowledge, sometimes those prejudices, which are mostly of religious origin, they come in the way. But it is accepted. Up to inside the Garbhagriha of temples, also electricity is accepted everywhere. Isn't it? You know, I read somewhere in Oxford, Bodleian Library, electricity was not accepted for a long time. It was only in around 1930s or 40s that it was, because people were scared that Bodleian has such a collection of manuscripts, a rare collection, that if something goes wrong with the electricity and there is a short circuit or fire, then lots would be lost. So only in the 1930s or 40s, when electricity was accepted in that library, people said it was the greatest tribute to electricity itself that Bodleian has accepted. So there is a resistance, but that resistance lasts for some decades and then it goes off. Now, electricity, I know electricity is dangerous, but still it's part of our life. And we have learned how to handle it. We keep telling our children, say, don't touch this plant, don't touch this, that. You have to train them, and it works. This is true of several other kinds of, as a young student in the school, people would, we will get, you also must have got an essay like Vigyan Abhishap na Vardhan. In every school child had to. So this Abhishap Vardhan dichotomy will continue. And in this dichotomy, technology had little difficulty in acceptance. Thank you. Anything else?
Sir, even in Indian context, I think caste played a major role. It was a major barrier between translation of scientific knowledge into technology.
Caste was a barrier for diffusion of knowledge itself. Agraharas were limited. This man had, the Kerala School of Mathematics was absolutely world class, but it was limited to a few people only. Because it was limited to the Agrahara. So what do you do because the society didn't allow knowledge to percolate down to everyone? So there was no horizontal expansion of knowledge. Even now it is difficult. Even now it is not being done. You know it. There are many sociological explanations for it. But things have improved, things have changed a great deal, no doubt. And we have to keep working on it. Scientific temper is not a prerogative or monopoly of one group of people. No. I believe scientific temper one can find even in a most illiterate peasant in a very remote area. And a highly educated person, university man, would be much more orthodox and pakhandi than anyone. It happens. But then you have to deal with it. And that's why I say, his system, if we promote, then we would be able to cut across those social barriers. That's why I said that it's more secular. It doesn't distinguish. And it calls for horizontal expansion.
Right,
Anything
sir.
else?
আর কেউ জিজ্ঞেস করবে কিছু স্টুডেন্টসরা? তোমাদের কি কোয়ারিজ আছে এই ব্যাপারে? অনেকেই যারা আগে হিস্ট্রি অফ সায়েন্স অপ্ট করনি তারা কিন্তু যে সমস্ত কোয়ারিজ গুলো আছে সেগুলো জিজ্ঞেস করতে পারো। এখানে অনেকেই আছে যারা হিস্ট্রি অফ সায়েন্স অপ্ট করেছো, আবার অনেকেই আছো যারা করনি। এই ধরনের লেকচার হিস্ট্রি অফ সায়েন্সে তোমরা প্রথমবার শুনছো, হিস্টেম যে কনসেপ্টটা। তোমাদের কোনো বক্তব্য বাংলায় বলতে পারো।
স্যার স্যার আমি একটু বলার চেষ্টা করছি।
হ্যাঁ প্লিজ।
স্যার এই আমাদের যে সপ্তম আশ্চর্য বলা হয়, তার মধ্যে আমি দুটো তিনটেকেই ধরছি। ধরুন তাজমহল অথবা পিরামিড, এই যে এই এনশিয়েন্ট আমলে যে এই মানে এই সপ্তম আশ্চর্য জিনিসগুলো তৈরি করা হয়েছিল, এইগুলো এত সুন্দরভাবে, এত মানে পারফেক্ট শেপ কিভাবে নিয়েছিল এই সম্পর্কে যদি দু চারটে বলেন। এই জন্য একদম পিরামিডের একদম মানে কোনগুলো পারফেক্ট ছিল, তারপরে তাজমহলের যে টম্ব বা ডোম গুলো থাকে গম্বুজের মতো, এগুলো ওই অত প্রাচীন আমলে কিভাবে ছিল, এই এই সম্পর্কে যদি একটু বলেন। মানে সেই সময় বিজ্ঞান কি খুব উন্নত পর্যায়ে ছিল?
Of course, knowledge was there. In structural engineering, if leave this Taj Mahal in 11th century AD, much before, 1,000 years ago, you have, if you go to Tanjore in Tamil Nadu, must visit the Brihadeshwara temple. And if you see the Brihadeshwara temple, it's so huge. And the stones, they were brought on a ramp, wooden ramp, there was no lift those days, by the elephants. It was brought. And they have been put in such a fashion that is mind-boggling. No seepage. Thousands of years have, and it will remain for another several thousand years, the way it has been assembled. Proper light comes, no water dripping, there was no cement, and the way stones have been placed over each other, and with the help of lime and so forth, how they have been sealed properly, it's absolutely remarkable structural engineering. This is engineering, no doubt about this, technological knowledge. Similarly, you come to Delhi, forget about Taj Mahal, I'm more fascinated by Humayun's tomb. Go to Humayun's tomb. It begins with small arches, entry gate, small gate with goes with the arch. You keep looking. You cross through 5-6 such gates, and you will see the dome of the Humayun's tomb coming up like a rising moon. Slowly, absolutely white marble coming. And then when you return, don't put your back towards the tomb. You rather walk backwards. And then you can see gradually how the dome is going down like a waning moon. Moon is going down. Moon is coming up. Every centimeter is so well calculated. And it is done with the idea of what you call optics, how your eyes will. So structural engineering was remarkable. Our textile, for example, remarkable. But these all will qualify as for, this is a stone-oriented civilization. Or I call it Marmari Sabhyata, Sangmarmar, marble-oriented civilization. Marble and stone. But when the Europeans came, they didn't bring any marble from Europe, from Italy, no. Did they? What did they bring? When Jesuit fathers came to Sharampur or elsewhere, what did they bring? They brought printing press. They brought telescope, a crude microscope, and these were, and in a telescope, it is not marble that is used. In this mobile also, there is no marble chip. It is silica chip. It is glass technology. They brought glass. So that's why I have argued some of my writing. That is a glass civilization. कांच की सभ्यता, शीशे की सभ्यता, जिसने मरमरी सभ्यता को चकनाचूर किया, which defeated the civilization of stone and marble. So, of course, Dhaka muslin was a great thing, but whom it was meant for, tell me? It was meant for only the kings.
It's
You created best malmal, the gold thread dress, all this, which the Nawabs and the top people they wore. Ordinary people they did. What they were left with? They had owned their own suit, which later, of course, Gandhi popularizes. So, though I know that in handicraft we were too good, Taj Mahal is a great emblem, no doubt, Vrineshwara of structural engineering and so forth. But a society or a nation is not made of only temples and mausoleums. We are still obsessed with temples, sir. Have more temples. Who cares? You have to go beyond temples and mausoleums. इसी की वजह से हमारी कब्र बनती गई. You have to go beyond that. You have to make science people's oriented. You have to inculcate scientific temper. You have to make innovation part of our existence. अभी खाली मेक इन इंडिया बोलने से नहीं होता. That's rhetoric. Let's see. Things have improved already a lot. And I'm an optimist, remain an optimist. Any other question?
আর কেউ কিছু
স্যার আমার একটা প্রশ্ন আছে
প্লিজ প্লিজ
স্যার আমি বলছি যে অন্ধবিশ্বাস আমরা জানি বিজ্ঞানের যে ধারা সেখানে অনেক বাধা সৃষ্টি করেছিল গ্যালিলিওকে শাস্তি পেতে হয়েছিল ব্রুনোকে জীবন্ত পুড়িয়ে মারা হয়েছিল তো এই অন্ধবিশ্বাস কি এই যে সায়েন্স টেকনোলজি যে হিস্ট্রি অফ সায়েন্স টেকনোলজি এন্ড মেডিসিন এই যে ধারা যে শুরু হয়েছে ভারতবর্ষে বা পুরো পৃথিবীতে তার উপরে কোনো প্রভাব বিস্তার করেছে কখনো বাধা সৃষ্টি করেছে
Look, superstition has been part of all society. Andhvishwas is not peculiar only to Indian society. When railways first were introduced, people in England were very worried. They said, "Oh, what's upcoming? This is belching fire. It's the demon." When telegraph was introduced, people were so worried. What's happening? Is there a jinn which brings this sound to us? Now, Andhvishwas is part of superstition, is part of knowledge at the same time. Don't dismiss it. But it can create only minor impediments within few days or months. If you demonstrate it properly, it evaporates. It will evaporate. You have to demonstrate it properly. Nobody would believe Sir Jagdish Bose when he made an explosive work without a wire. That was the first wireless technology. Yeah. But it happened. When people saw it, they accepted. They said, yes, it is possible. Of course, later it was patented by Marconi and he made money out of it. But it was done here also. Many new things, there is always a resistance. But that resistance is not insurmountable. Andhvishwas is not insurmountable. You have to argue, you have to demonstrate, people accept it. Look, even ordinary people these days, they accepted vaccine. They accept new seed if you give them. I gave you the example of Roxburgh, but today, if you give them, they say, fine, let me try. This farming, that farming, this tool, that tool, they all accept. You can imagine mobile, where is the resistance to this? Even your domestic workers, Bhindi wala, sabji wala, fish wala, everybody is using it. Why there is no Andhavishwas here? Once people see the benefit, they grab it. It's true all over the world. India is no exception. Yes.
আর কেউ কিছু জিজ্ঞেস করবে? I think we should stop here. It's already
স্যার এই প্রশ্নের
হ্যাঁ মইনা বলো বলো
বলো।
আরেকটা যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করলো, হ্যাঁ তো এটা একটা এই প্রশ্নের পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে একটা প্রশ্ন উঠে আসে যে ইউরোপেও তো নানা প্রতিবন্ধকতার মধ্যে দিয়েই বিজ্ঞানকে গ্রহণ করেছিল সাধারণ মানুষ। ভারতবর্ষের ক্ষেত্রে আপনারা যেটা বললেন কাস্ট সোসাইটি একটা বড় সমস্যা ছিল। তো ইউরোপিয়ানরা এমন কোন স্টেপ গুলো গ্রহণ করেছিলেন যার জন্য ওদের মাস মিডিয়া বা সাধারণ মানুষের মধ্যে এটা সহজভাবে গ্রহণ করা সম্ভব হয়েছিল, যেটা ভারতবর্ষে হতে অনেকটাই দেরি হয়েছিল?
Look, there, of course, things were different because here we had a huge population. And you rightly talked about mass media, their role in that. Here, our media, even in British time, was obsessed with politics. And today it is even more obsessed with politics. This is how I began in the beginning to say. That's one of the reasons why, in today's, for example, in newspaper you pick, how many scientific news are printed there? Hardly one or two. Nobody is bothered about that. So it's all about 80% is about politics, 10-15% about religion and society, etc. We'd hardly get any space. In Europe, this was not the case. There, the separation between church and the state came very early, and it was very sharp. Church and state separated. Another thing was, even in academia began from the church. They were all seminaries, Oxford, Cambridge, universities, Padua, German university. They all began as seminaries. But in spite of being religious, they could go beyond religion. And they could secularize themselves. Look, Copernicus, I said, was a functional padri, was a priest. Darwin, he created such a revolution with his theory of evolution, but he was a practicing Christian, and he never spoke against Christianity. No, he didn't get into that trouble. In our case, this separation had never taken place. Today, you know the play between religion and politics, so close. That's a great misfortune, because religion is not personal in our system. It is embedded in all our activities, cultural, social, economic, political. What do you do? That's the reason why, we have this trouble in developing. Meghnad Shah talked about it, Nehru talked about it, but they were not the first to talk about it. I began with the example of the Vedas, where people were allowed to ask questions. They asked how the universe came. And the answer given is, we don't know. Even the Devatas don't know. Kuto Manusha. But people were encouraged to ask questions. Later, that questioning spirit went down because of the grip of the orthodoxy. Even today, you hardly ask questions. You don't want to differ with me. You are so faithful. You are such nice people. In classroom, you don't trouble your teacher. Your teachers are worth torture. Torture them. You don't do that. Because you are a nice guy. You just listen to him. Okay, give me 60% marks. That's enough. Thank you very much. How science will grow in such atmosphere? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for enlightening us on the most secular part of history, STEM. And thank you, students. Thank you, all our participants. I hope you all enjoyed very much. And Bipasha, thank you very much for creating the link. And this will be, you can access this link later on YouTube, right, Bipasha?
Yes, sir.
I think Bipasha
Yes, sir.
will share it with us.
হ্যাঁ স্যার করে দেবো আমি
Right. Thank you. And okay. And we are grateful to Professor Hitendra Kumar Patel, head of the department and director of this course, value-added course, Introduction to STS, Science, Technology, and Society. And we remain grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. আর তোমাদের নেক্সট যে ক্লাস হবে সেটা আমরা এই হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ গ্রুপে জানিয়ে দেব তোমাদের। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you, sir.